I started entrepreneurship at the ripe age of 16, 17, and in the first kind of like 3 years of my journey, practically nothing happened. In fact, this is what my entire journey kind of graph looked like. It kind of looked like that. I did see a little bit of success. It wasn't even success. I saw some progress that I made, but it was about that much of a difference. Practically nothing noticeable whatsoever. And this was the period of about 3 years or so. That was the progress that I had made. Again, practically nothing, right? But the funny thing is that in the fourth year of me doing entrepreneurship, this is what my progress all of a sudden looked like. And now this is something known as the plateau of latent potential, and that's what I want to go through in this video. Now, if any of you have read this book here, Atomic Habits, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the principles I'm going to go through, and you know what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to explain it in the way that directly impacts you from the stance of entrepreneurship and making money online. Not just maybe like improving yourself or getting better at certain things or building habits, but entrepreneurship as a whole. Because this is what your journey looks like about 90% of the time, unless you're the kind of 10% that get extremely lucky because you hit the jackpot very, very early on in your journey. And just to kind of like elaborate on what I'm actually talking about and to give you a better kind of idea, this axis is progress. And this axis, as you can see, is time. And now most people think, I say most people, if not the majority of people, kind of think that your progress as an entrepreneur should look something like this. Right? And it makes sense. Like, you think that as you put more time into your craft and you spend more time like working on your business or developing yourself or trying to make money, you think that it kind of looks like this. Like it correlates, right? The amount of time that you put in, the amount of progress that you make. It makes sense in your head. But that is completely the opposite. And this is what people expect, not only in entrepreneurship, with everything, with habits, with, I don't know, improving yourself, going to the gym, or whatever it is. This is exactly the kind of progress that people expect. Whereas in reality, this is what it actually looks like. If you can see that green line right here. And once you understand this within entrepreneurship as a whole, your perception of your journey, of progress, of success will change completely. It quite literally flips upside down, because especially when you're getting started, you expect progress like this. And for the majority of people, when they are in the flow of entrepreneurship, in the flow of building a business, and they are in this stage right here, which is, this stage can go on forever. Like, I'm not saying literally forever, but this stage can go on for 4 months, it can go on for 5 years, no one knows. And when you're in this stage right here is the stage where the majority of people do drop off. That's the stage where they come out the other end thinking, I've tried entrepreneurship, it didn't work. I don't know how it worked for this person, it's probably a scam. These business models are a sham, blah, 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 blah. Because this happens to them and they drop off here. They don't get to this part. They don't see this peak here, where everything changes for the better, because they don't reach that part. And the funny thing is that of entrepreneurship, this is the hardest part of your journey, the most difficult part of your journey. Typically it's the most fun, because when you get to this bit, you only encounter more problems and more stress and more things you have to deal with. But this is the part where the majority of people drop off, and they feel more comfortable calling it a scam, as per to understanding that, hold up, this is part of the process. And not only that, but the other way that people see it is that they'll do this, they'll get to this point up here, and then they'll get frustrated, they'll get pissed off with themselves, because they tell themselves that 3 years meant nothing. It was only the fourth year, the 1 year, that actually made the change. But the thing that you need to understand is that this was the actual impact. This action that you took here is what had the impact. This is where it actually came to fruition. This is where your effort met luck. Because this point right here, this kind of like pivot here, I'll kind of draw it a bit more clear. Give me a second. This part right here, right? Where everything starts to change and you start to see results and things start to flip upside down and your life never goes back to being the same. This part is where luck meets action. This part is where your action that you've taken has met the luck, and just by chance, things have aligned, things have kind of come into place where actually the result has been produced. But the thing is that you never know when this is going to happen. So when you do make it, when you do succeed, inevitably when you do, because I know you're watching this because you're on that path, don't think that this part of your journey was a waste. Understand that this part of the journey was absolutely necessary, it was absolutely imperative to get to this part, so that you could actually meet luck with your action. Because this can't happen. Luck can't meet action if you don't allow yourself to become lucky. And you only allow yourself to become lucky when you keep doing. Luck doesn't happen to the person that does nothing throughout their whole life, who never tries anything, never takes any risk. You know, you can sit there in your chair and kind of say things like, oh, that entrepreneur was lucky, or Bill Gates got lucky, or this happened and this happened and they were lucky. But the thing that you don't understand is that they were only lucky because they opened up the doors and the windows to luck. You can only get lucky when you take enough action that just so by chance, your action actually meets the perfect timing and it meets the perfect circumstances. And at that point, this happens. And this point up here is quite obviously success, all right? And now this is such an important thing for you to understand as a young entrepreneur, because if you don't understand this principle here, you will get to this part here. Maybe you try it for 2 years, maybe you try it for 6 months and nothing happens and you give up and you call it dead. You say, this isn't for me. It didn't work. Clearly, I've been doing it for a while now. When you understand that this will happen, inevitably, it will inevitably happen if you give this enough time and enough attention, your perspective on your journey changes, because you now understand that it's just a matter of time. As long as I'm willing to go through this part here, then this part will happen. And they call this part something. This part here, where nothing seems to work, and actually, the majority of the time, it doesn't even look like this. It looks like this, right? Because things go wrong. Things don't go according to plan. And this is known, what I believe it's James Clear calls it, the valley of despair, where things are actually, they get started kind of at like level 0 and then they actually drop below level 0 and shit doesn't go right. You try a business and it fails and things don't work and it's frustrating and everything's crumbling around you. This is known as the valley of despair. And most people do give up here because of course they would. Things haven't gone the way they wanted them to. But when you understand that, hold up, they will go back to the point of neutral and then success, you can really kind of give it blind action to the point of where you know things will come out as a result. Things will happen the way you want them to. It's just a matter of time. So what you really need to truly understand is that all big things come from small things. All big things come from small action. This part of the process here, this isn't made by changing everything all at once. This is done by a lot of small things, a lot of small actions and the kind of attempts that you've made stacking up and eventually producing a result. So if you are a young entrepreneur and you're watching this from the perspective of, I'm on my journey and this has taken a while and it's taken long, it's not going the way I wanted to, or even if you've just started your journey and it's difficult, it's frustrating, just know that this is applicable to you. This is applicable in everyone's journey, and it is applicable to you as well. You need to give it your all, give it your blind faith that this will inevitably happen. And I know that you have no idea how long this part is going to take here, because it could take 2 months, it could take 5 years. You don't know that, and that's the difficult part, because you've got to have that blind faith that something positive will come out of it. But it will. This will happen. This will, as a result, happen. This is what happened to me. And don't get me wrong, my progress looked a little bit different. I did have a little bit of success kind of out the gate, because I hit the right market at the right time, things started to work. But trust me when I say this, this part also happened. And if I had given up here, this part wouldn't have happened here, which means that this part wouldn't have happened here. And I'm not the most successful in the world, don't get me wrong, but at the age I'm at what I'm doing pretty well for myself. And I'm only here, and again, I've got much further to get because I went through this part. That's your lesson for today. Subscribe, because you're going to become very, very knowledgeable, sharing you all the tips and the tricks and the value that I've learned as a 21-year-old entrepreneur. And I think that you're going to find them very, very helpful as you progress.